Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks to all the visitors. Very welcome here this evening. So yes, we're going to be talking about the four great questions. The four great questions. They're very difficult to answer, but we will attempt to answer them at the end, in the conclusion. So the four great questions. Who am I? Where do I come from? What must I do? And where am I going? In other words, what happens after death? Where do we go after death? So everyone on the planet, whoever's come to walk on this beautiful world of ours, at some point in their life, they've pondered in some shape or form concerning the four great questions. Everyone at some point in their lives have asked themselves and have focused on these four questions. Whether it's the disillusioned teenager who commits suicide because he can't face life, or the greatest philosophers that have ever walked this plane, every one of us at some point in our lives has asked ourselves the four great questions. The greatest philosophers on earth question these four great questions. The first of them, and we're going to go through them one by one. Who am I? Who am I? Wie is ek? I think of all the questions, this one intrigues me the most. Who am I? Who exactly is a human being? Who are we? Well, one thing is for sure, whatever you think a human being is, it's much more than that. A great deal more than that. Because human beings are incredible, incredible creatures. So who am I? You know, talking about your mundane life. You come to this world, you grow up, and you get thrown into the rat race. You struggle to survive, struggle to please your boss, to seek the approval of others. Is that what life is about? Is life about accumulating wealth? Are you trying to get your double garage with the Ferrari and the Lamborghini next to each other? Big house with a swimming pool. Have you reached self-actualization if that happens? Is that what it's all about? Climbing the ladder of success, struggling to get ahead. What exactly is life all about? Are you trying to keep up with the Joneses? And you know, eventually, life goes past so fast that very soon you're in retirement, and you look back on your life, and you begin to ask the question, is that all what life is about? Or am I more than that? Am I more than just a member of the rat race of society? I think we greatly underestimate who we are. We are far more than we could ever imagine. So here's a list of things that we are. We are more important. You have to put a more in front of it all the time. We are more intelligent. If you think you're intelligent, you are more intelligent. You are more powerful, more awesome. You are an awesome person. Every single one of you is awesome. Like Tina Turner always used to sing, you're simply the best. You are more awesome, more great, more beautiful, more valuable. In fact, we are invaluable. More eternal, more prosperous, more free, David Icke wrote a book, I Am Me, I Am Free. More creative. And with creation comes emotion. We are emotional creatures. More conscious, sentient. We are aware. We are tuned into the great consciousness of the universe. So we are all these things, and we are more than that. No matter how awesome you think you are 1,000,000 times more awesome than that. Maybe I've said the word awesome too much, but you are awesome. We are sentient, conscious, eternal beings. We are more than the physical, and we are more than the spiritual. We are a combination of both. I heard a beautiful thing today, I don't know who said it, Mikhail Ledwith, I think, that the universe is divided up into 7 layers, 7 positions, and it reflects humanity. If you want to know the universe, you look at yourself, and we too have 7 layers. We exist on all planes of existence. We transcend the planes of existence. We are both physical and spiritual. We can transcend and exist on all planes of existence. Like Jacob, who dreamed in the desert while putting his head upon a stone as a pillar, saw a ladder or a staircase descending from heaven. And he saw the angels ascending and descending on the stairway, meaning that angels are able to ascend and descend the different dimensions of existence. And we too, as human beings, are able to do that. We are capable of doing incredible things, us as human beings. This is a picture of my daughter, Michaela. She used to do gymnastics. Even at a young age, when we're young people, we are still capable of incredible things, just on the physical side. Doing all these gymnastic, trapezic, artistic things. The human body is incredible with what it can do. So we are capable of incredible things. We're also, what I think makes us very special in the universe, is our spectrum of emotions. We have an incredible array of emotions. One of the things that makes us unique in the universe, of all the species that exist in the universe, very few display the amount of emotions and the variety of emotions that we as human beings display. We have a whole spectrum of emotions that we can enjoy. We can play, we can laugh, we can dance, we can cry, we can be sad, we can be happy, we can be angry, we can be bitter. All these emotions are for us to enjoy. So in a word, you are awesome. There is no limit to the ecstasies of emotions that lie deep within our souls. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's amazing how much negativity there is in the world. Even from a school age, at school, perhaps your teachers tell you that you're not awesome, that you're not beautiful, that you're not intelligent. But that's just the fear and the unbelief talking. But don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let anybody tell you that you don't deserve happiness, or that you don't deserve possessions, to be prosperous and to thrive in the world, or to have status, or to have position in society. You are unique, and you have the right to be the person that you want to be, and to enjoy this life that's been given us. The next question that is often asked It's not, question number 2 on the 4 great questions is, where do I come from? Where do I come from? Both religion and science have tried to answer this question, but it is a difficult question to answer. And we have to be honest, has science or religion given us a definitive answer to the question of where do I come from? What is our origin? Does any religion in the world have the answer to this question? Some people believe that a supreme being, a God, or the God, created us. So were we created by a supreme being, or did we simply stumble into existence by mere chance, as evolution would have us believe? I personally lean towards intelligent design, but with reservations. You see, the problem with the biblical view of creation is that it's too watered down, too simplistic, too childish. The Bible is guilty of oversimplification. It's almost as if Genesis was written for children as opposed to adults. You see, the nuts and the bolts are missing. The detail as to how we originated is missing. The detail as to how we came about is not given to us in the Bible. In fact, it's done deliberately. The God or gods don't actually want you to know the answers to the 4 questions. Because with the answer to the 4 questions comes revelation. And with revelation comes power. And the gods are afraid for you to have that power. The answer always seems to be just out of reach, and it's deliberately done that way. It's as if the beings that created us, that are responsible for our genesis, don't want us to know our origin. However, this is not a permanent state of affairs. We're living in a time of great awakening, a time of awareness. A shift in consciousness is happening. And these answers, I think people are beginning to awaken to these answers. And another thing that makes humans so special is our curiosity, our insatiable desire to know. We hunger for knowledge. We want to know what's behind the door. We want to know what's over the wall. We want to see what's in the box. And this drive will give us the answers. Our curiosity demands that we will eventually discover these hidden truths. Human beings deserve to know the answer to the great questions. To use a military term, there is a need to know. All right? We need to know the answers to these questions. Who was it? One of these great generals said, we can't tell you the truth because you are not able to handle the truth. Well, I beg to differ. We do have a right to know the answers to these fundamental questions of humanity. The gods don't want us to know the answers. With the answers comes revelation, enlightenment. And with enlightenment comes power. And with power comes freedom. The gods are fearful of the fact that when we find out, we will become like them. We will become gods. The Bible says in Genesis 3:22, consider this verse as a kind of a board meeting that took place. All the gods had a board meeting, and on the agenda was humanity and what to do with humanity. All right? They were discussing, they were conversing amongst each other as to what to do with humanity. And the Lord God said, behold, the man is become as one of us. To put you in the picture, this is happening now after Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit. Their eyes were opened, they saw the light, and now the question comes what we're going to do with humanity. Because humanity has fundamentally changed after eating the fruit. So, behold, the man has become as one of us. Notice it's us, plural, not singular. Theologians have a huge problem with the us. In fact, some people have written 3-inch thick books, commentaries, to try and explain away the us in that verse. To know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Why are these gods so afraid and so concerned that humanity eats of the tree of life and attains immortality? That is one, as you begin to ponder these 4 questions, more questions roll out. Instead of getting answers, we get more questions. And that's another question. Well, there is one view that people have concerning our origins, and that is that life here did not begin here, but life here began somewhere else. And that we have been seeded here from extraterrestrial beings from another place in our galaxy have planted us here like plants. We have been seeded here. They have designed us and created us. And there's much plausibility for that. Lots of evidence is coming to the fore that could very well be the case. There was a TV series long ago called Battlestar Galactica. And the opening words of this TV series posits this question, or makes this statement that life here began somewhere else.
There are those who believe that life here began out there, far across the universe, with tribes of humans who may have been the forefathers of the Egyptians, or the Toltecs, or the Mayans. Some believe that there may yet be brothers of man who even now fight to survive somewhere beyond the heavens.
So life here began from a place far away. This TV series posits. So, just to repeat what that man said, there are those who believe that life here began out there, far across the universe, with tribes of humans who may have been the forefathers of the Egyptians, or the Toltecs, or the Mayans. They may have been the architects of the Great Pyramids. Everybody wonders who built the pyramids. Or the lost civilizations of Lemuria or Atlantis. Some believe that there may yet be brothers of man who even now fight to survive far, far away among the stars. And like I say, this belief is beginning to become more prominent in alternative thinking today. The next question we have to ask ourselves is, what must I do? This has got to do with destiny. What must I do to attain my destiny? This has got to do with purpose. If you don't have purpose, there is no real reason to live. And so this is also one of the great questions. Is there purpose in your life? Is the tradesman simply a tradesman? Is the engineer simply an engineer? Are we simply our vocation, or are we more than our career? We are more than the assigned work that we do. Every one of us wants, in our very DNA, in our very soul, we want our lives to have meaning. We want our lives to have purpose. And yes, our lives do indeed have purpose. Your life matters, and your life has a unique and specific purpose. It's important to have a goal in life. If there's no goal, then there is no real reason to live. And also, the way you take on a task is very important. If you are faithful in the small things, you'll be faithful in the big things. And so your attitude towards what you do is also very, very important. The Bible says, "And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not." So that's just an encouragement. Don't be weary in well-doing. Whatever you're doing, do it with passion and do it with honor. But the question remains, what must I do? Is what you're doing, is that what the universe wants you to do? Do you know what the answer is to this question? What exactly must I do? And when you come to this question, you are bombarded on every side by moralistic advice and judgments, especially from Christianity. What must I do? You can go ask your pastor, what must I do? Well, the church will tell you you must do good, because if you do good, you'll go to heaven, and if you do bad, you'll go to hell. So it's very important to practice ethics and morality in the world. But the problem with Christianity is that there are 20,000 brands or versions of Christianity out there. And often the advice given is conflicting, it's confusing. So what must I do? What must I do in life? The answers that they'll give us can be confusing, can be bewildering, can be enigmatic at times. The next question, where am I going? Where am I going? In other words, what lies beyond death? Where am I going? What happens after death? The study of death is called thanatology. Thanatology. Thanatology is the study of what happens around a person and to a person while the person is dying, and the beliefs that different religions have concerning death. Thanatology. The Jewish thanatology is quite interesting because they believe that sickness and sleep are actually forms of death, and that sleep is actually a metaphor for death. When Jesus was told to go and resurrect the person that had died, Lazarus, I think, he said to them, don't worry, he's simply asleep. It's a state of sleep. So it's a good analogy to associate sleep with death. But that's another story altogether. Every culture in the world has their version, their understanding of life after death. The reason why we bury people and have ceremonies and funerals is because of this belief in the afterlife. And it goes back very far in history. It goes back 200,000 years. This is now the dawn of Homo sapiens. They found skulls with holes in the head, 200,000-year-old skulls. And these holes were unlike what's called trepanation. Trepanation is drilling holes in people's heads while they're still alive. Now you probably wonder why they're drilling holes in people's heads. It's because they believe that the soul, the nephesh, the spirit, dwells within the head. There's a little man inside the head. And so for different reasons, also demon possession if you are possessed with demonic forces, they reside in the head. And the only way to get the little man out of the head is to drill a hole so that the little man can escape. And why they drilled holes post-mortem is because they believed that the spirit, the soul, the nephesh was trapped inside the dead body. And so they made a hole for the little man to get out of the head. But it's interesting that as far back as 200,000 years ago, it's hard to believe, people already then had an understanding that there was life after death. Trepanation. Where am I going? Where does this belief in the afterlife come from? That's a good question. Have we been programmed, from childhood? Have we been taught to believe in an afterlife? Or does it come from within? Does our very bodies tell us that there is an afterlife? Has it been imposed upon us externally by religion? Have we been taught by the church to believe in an afterlife? Or is it part of the memory in our DNA? There is a thing called epigenetic memory. Epigenetic memory is the memory that is kept within your cells. Your very cells in your body have the ability to store information, store data, especially in the DNA. That's what DNA is. DNA is a place that stores data, stores information. And what's happening is your forefathers, your generations before you, have passed on knowledge in the body, the cells of your body. And when you are born, you are actually born in a way fully loaded. You don't come into this world empty. It's like buying a computer that has software already on it, that has data already on it, and you come into this world with this memory of your forefathers. I don't know how to say it properly, but the groot mense weet. I'll show you now. DNA has the ability to store information just like we store data on a flash drive. We instinctively know because it has been passed on genetically from our forefathers. Epigenetic memory. Darrell Treffert believes that humans aren't born with a blank brain, but we come preloaded, that's the word I wanted, preloaded with knowledge. His main theory and ideas revolve around savant patients who with no formal training have amazing musical abilities, mathematical abilities, etc. He believes that these individuals come with a chip in their brain which codes for their ability, and their mental disability allows them to access it. The monarch butterfly in nature is a perfect example of epigenetic memory. The monarch butterfly flies from Canada all the way to Mexico. But the journey is so long, it takes 3 generations. So when the butterflies in Mexico have to fly back home to Canada, how do they know the way? How do they get the GPS to tell them where Canada is? Well, that is epigenetic memory. Memory instinctively stored within the cells of the butterfly. It's called epigenetic memory. The monarch butterfly migrates 4,000 kilometers from Canada to Mexico during winter and then back during spring. Although this may seem simple memory, the time it takes for them to leave Mexico spans over 3 generations, meaning no butterfly making the return trip back to Canada has flown the route before. So in the same way, our minds and our bodies instinctively know the answers to these 4 questions. And that is why there is such a strong attraction by people. People actually want to know the answer to these 4 questions because your very body is crying out to you to know the answers to these questions. So now we're going to look at these 4 questions as a whole, finding the answers. Finding the answers. Let us now look at these 4 questions as a whole. Now, it's hard. It's hard to answer these questions. The reason why it's so hard to answer these questions is because it's not really about a cognitive understanding. It's not really about mental understanding, all right? This goes way beyond your mind. This goes into your very soul, into your heart. The only real way you're going to know these 4 questions is if you go through a transformation, if you have a paradigm shift, and you, in your very being, comprehend these 4 answers. That's how it happens. And it takes a lifetime or lifetimes for that to happen. If you ask people, or search the net, or go to the library, you will get a variety of different answers. The answers can be so bizarre and so emotionally charged, so childish. I asked my daughter, do they ask the 4 great questions at school? No, Daddy. Maybe because it's so emotionally charged, I don't know. But these are fundamental questions. Isn't it strange that modern society keeps itself busy with trivial things and doesn't focus on the most important questions that there are? But, the answers can be bizarre, emotionally charged, so childish, so lacking substance that most thinking people today just dismiss them as unworthy. So there might be a time in your life when you sought these questions, but it was just too difficult to find them, and so you gave up. And so you keep yourself busy with things in the world just to keep your mind preoccupied that you don't dwell on these 4 questions. There are a lot of people today in the world that are looking for some direction. They are looking for answers to questions that plague them all. You do not have to be a religious person to seek these answers. These questions come with our bodies and with our minds. It's not a religious thing, all right? Although religion has a great monopoly on these 4 questions, it's not really just religious people, but all of us, the whole spectrum of humanity, is searching for these answers. Even scientists are searching for these answers. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Because, people are looking for meaning. They were looking for meaning in their life. The answers are not forthcoming. And this is a great tragedy, that we are not able to have the answers to these questions. Yes, there are answers, but the answers are rare, very rare. It'll take your entire life and your entire commitment to find the answer to these questions. They are available, but like everything in life, you need to look in the right place. Think of it this way. You can walk into a library and you see all these books in that library. And you might as well give up at the front door because it's impossible to read all those books in one lifetime. But the answer is to find the books that matter and to read those books. So the question is, what is the right books to read to find the answers? Now, speaking as a person that comes from a theological background and a religious background, religion has in many aspects failed to answer these 4 great questions. Some of the great religions have presented human hope and human destiny in such a childish manner, so sentimental, that many thinking people have banished all hope of the divine from their lives. But there are answers and there is guidance. And there are things that we must do to obtain the answers. It's not as simple as simply doing what I think God wants me to do. You can go to your pastor and ask him, what must I do? And your pastor will say, well, you must do this and you must do that and you must do the other thing. And no doubt one of the things will be come to church every Sunday. And no doubt one of the things will be, please give me money. I want money. You can be guaranteed on that. All religions have a franchise on God. God is accessible to us on a brokerage basis. And there are many brokers out there, many different brokers, and their commissions vary. Apparently you cannot have direct access to God. Even if the Bible says, and the Bible does say you can have direct access to God, we can come to God boldly, to the throne room of God, speaking as a theist. But the brokers say, no ways, you can't have direct access to God. No. You have to pay your commission, and the broker, will organize conversations. You have to go through the broker. We are expected to live in the image of other people's gods, or how they imagine God to be. The ways we think about God and the world are limiting, warped, and wrong. And so religion in many aspects has failed to produce and to answer the four great questions. Religion limits, religion confines our spiritual and evolutionary progress and development. Most intelligent people don't even attempt to find the answers to the great questions. And this is a paradox, because the very reason we have been placed here on earth, the reason why we've been sent to earth, is to discover, to seek out and find answers to these great questions. The very reason we have been sent to earth is to discover, to seek out the answers to these questions. Most of the time we don't think too deeply about these things. The mundane necessities of life keep us so busy that we don't focus on the deeper truths. We might wake up in the morning and see a beautiful sunrise. We might see the stars at night, and in those momentary times when we are in contact with nature, the four great questions might come to you. But as the sun rises and it's time to go to work, the mundane necessities of life take over, and we forget about the four great questions. For a brief moment, we may think of the more important things, but we are soon distracted by trivial things. We spend most of our time on things that don't really matter. We don't spend enough time focusing on the big questions. When I grew up, I was mesmerized by the stars. I've got a great interest in astronomy and looking at stars. And just before sunrise, I would often go out and look at the stars. Just before the sun rises, there's a great bright star in the sky. And actually, it's not a star, it's actually the planet Venus. The bringer of the dawn, I think one of the titles of Venus is. As it fades away, it concedes to the strength of sunlight. This star is not a star, but a planet. The ancients called it the bringer of the dawn, the proclaimer of the coming sun. The star is associated with Lucifer, the light bearer. Venus is the brightest celestial body in the sky just before the sunrise. So I was attracted, and still am, to this, although more so about a year ago. When I grew up, I think I was about 3 years old, maybe 2 years old. My first memory was of my father throwing me up in the air so that I can catch the moon. And I used to say, "Ta moon, ta moon." And I have a tremendous fascination with astronomy and the stars and so on, from young. Ta moon, for me standing in the early hours of the morning looking at the stars, it has a hypnotic effect on me. I'm mesmerized by astronomy and what's out there. I mean, who can't be if you look at the Milky Way and you look at the stars in the Milky Way? The beauty of the universe. I have a truly spiritual experience just by standing and looking at the stars. And it's at moments like that where you fully concentrate on the 4 great questions. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Mesmerized. Now, as I grew up, 9 years old, television came to South Africa in 1976. And we didn't have a television at our house. So I went to the neighbors down the road and watched television over there. And one of the TV series that came out for the first time was a TV series called Space 1999 or Alpha 1999. I was mesmerized by this TV series. The moon, apparently a nuclear explosion, and the moon was ripped out of the orbit of the Earth and went hurling through space. And the 311 souls on moon base Alpha would go out and have these incredible adventures, meeting strange beings and strange phenomena out in space. It was fascinating. Space 1999. Anybody remember that TV series? Every Tuesday night I would go and watch Space 1999. And you know, walking home after watching that, you're looking up at the moon and you think to yourself, wow, I wonder if there's really people living on the moon. And your imagination runs wild as to all the wonderful things that happen out there. I was fascinated by these stories. My imagination ran wild. Space 1999, it was actually called Alpha 1999. I don't know if they dubbed it into Afrikaans, I can't remember. I remember the first advert that came out on TV. It was about Big T hamburgers. Cowboys riding, advertising hamburgers. It's the first advert I ever saw in my entire life on TV. So let's focus now on the journey of life. The journey of life. Life can be compared to a journey. Tao, the way. The journey of life. Can we find the answers to these questions? Well, yes, we can. But the answers will not come easily. They won't come effortlessly. It will take lifetimes to discover the answers. The whole of life is a journey to discover the answers. As we discover, we grow and develop and reach maturity. One of the reasons why we are definitely going to get the answers is because of our curiosity. You know, at Christmas times, you want to open that box. You want to know what's inside the box. And that's built into our very DNA, this insatiable need for wanting to know. Our curiosity is what drives us. It's part of human nature. Opening the box, the curiosity of it. We want to know what lies behind. Another incredible movie to watch is Mission to Mars. Mission to Mars. Our curiosity has taken us to the highest mountains. We have explored the depths of the oceans. A manned mission to Mars is inevitable. And you know, at our very hearts, we are explorers. Each one of us is an explorer. We are exploring the world out there. And in this Mission to Mars movie, there's this one statement that one of the astronauts' wives says on a video camera. She says these words, powerful words. The universe is not chaos. It is connection. Life reaches out to life. It is what we were born for, to stand on a new world and look beyond it to the next one. It's who we are. We are natural explorers. What makes Mission to Mars so interesting is it gives you an answer to one of these questions, or one of the answers, if you believe it in that way, is that life was seeded here from somewhere else. This message comes across a lot in movies. That latest movie of Ridley Scott, same story again. Prometheus, the movie Prometheus, the seeding of life on Earth. Star Trek is another example of exploring the final frontier. All right? Space is not the final frontier. There are other dimensions that we have to also explore and find answers to. But yeah, Star Trek is incredible. These words penned by Gene Roddenberry in Star Trek, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life. Life reaches for life. Connection. To seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. They've taken the man out now in Star Trek Next Generation because it's too masculine. So now it's where no one has gone before. We have to include the women as well.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Her ongoing mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Let's talk about the womb, how we got here in the first place. The womb is a wonderful metaphor of life as well. We begin this journey of discovery in the womb. We begin submerged in a cocoon of water. It's dark in that cocoon, but you hear sounds, muffled sounds. You can feel the heartbeat of your mother, the warmth of her body, but you cannot see clearly. You see, but you don't see clearly. It's a place of darkness. To a degree, we are aware of our surroundings, but we don't see in full. We hear muffled sounds. We can feel the warmth and vibrations of our mother's body. But the world out there is unknown. Then the birthing happens, and we come into a place of enlightenment. In the womb, we only see in part. And now, when we take our first breath, we see in full. It's the miracle of birth. And like birth, so is death. Death is also about going through a tunnel with a light at the end. Just think of yourself as a fetus inside your mother's womb. When you come out, it's like coming out into the light. It's like going down a tunnel and seeing a light at the end. And that is how death is also. The most enigmatic question of all is what lies beyond death? Is there life after death? Death is simply another birthing experience. We are now in the womb. And one day, when we die, we are born. That's your birthing experience. The light at the end of the tunnel, the people see when they die, is similar to the light a baby sees, if a baby could see, when being born. Death is simply a doorway to a new beginning. There seems to be an internal knowing built into our DNA, a knowing that life on earth is not all there is. We continue beyond death. We live to die, and we die to live. The darkness of this world must give way to the light of the world beyond death. And now to answer the 4 questions, it has to do with transformation. As we discover the answers to the 4 questions, we grow in knowledge. There is a rise in consciousness happening to humanity at this time. The sleeper must awaken. Gaining knowledge is only the first step in the process of discovery. All right? Knowledge also brings revelation, and revelation fundamentally transforms us. It's like reading a book. When you read a very, very good book, you're not just gaining knowledge from that book, but whatever that book is teaching you will fundamentally transform and change you. It's like the book I read, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. After reading that book, I consumed the book. I ate that book. It became part of my life, and it transformed me. That's what a good book should do. It's not just about cognitive knowledge. You can't just read a good book and be unchanged by it. A book should not just feed your head, but it should feed your heart as well. You should undergo a transformation. Knowledge brings revelation, and revelation brings transformation. Knowing the answer to these questions brings about a transformation in our minds and in our behavior. Your behavior changes. Our mundane lives don't have to be so mundane anymore. Who am I? I am me, and I am free. Freedom must be obtained at all cost. In order to live our lives to the fullest, we need to be free. Freedom brings joy, and don't let anyone rob you of your joy. Free to be me means free to express our uniqueness. Let us rejoice in our uniqueness and in our individual creativity. The best person you can be is yourself. Even though the world cries against you and doesn't want you to be yourself, the people that are successful in life are people that have been true to themselves, haven't copied other people, haven't played a cliche, but lived their unique self-life. That's the only real person you can be, is yourself. There's no one in the world quite like you. You are unique in the universe, and you have a unique gift to give humanity. That is when we become worthwhile to society. Another thing we should do if we want to find the answers is dwell in nature. Nature is one of the best, if not the best, teacher there can be when dealing with the 4 great questions. Allow nature to revitalize you. Living in the city actually robs us of this freedom that we find in nature. And so we need to get into nature now and then. We're not just cogs in a machine, the metropolitan lifestyle. The system does not care about your uniqueness. It simply uses you as a commodity. Your individuality and your uniqueness is squashed in the modern contemporary society of today. Human beings were not created to live under the pressure of the metropolitan life. We ought to thrive and not strive. We live in a world of abundancy. The truth is, we live in a universe of abundance. The doctrine of scarcity is a false one. It's a mindset. Poverty is a mindset that we need to get out of our heads. Part of being unique is being beings that live in abundance. I had a whole thing about abundance. This all comes from a little book that I wrote a long time ago. The way to awaken and be free is to search with all sincerity for the answers to the great questions. And once, like I said, once you find the answers to these questions, it changes you. And incredible, it brings joy. Once you find the answers to these questions, it brings joy to your life. It brings freedom to your life. And it brings power to your life. The governments of the world don't want you to know this. They want you to be a slave. They don't want you to have joy, freedom, and power. Because anything that threatens the government, I don't want that. And so, like butterflies, we become free. Discovering the deeper truths transforms us. The metaphor of the butterfly. It's nature's way of showing us what transformation is all about. We begin as caterpillars crawling on the ground, not knowing much, blind, can't see. And then we get put into a cocoon, the transformation, a time of a sabbatical, a time of restoration, almost like kamaloka. But we transform into butterflies. Once we come out of that cocoon, the being that's outside of the cocoon is very different to the being that went into that cocoon. This is the life of every human being. We fly high in the sky. A butterfly speaks of joy, it speaks of freedom, it speaks of power. The playful child becomes the mature adult, and the curious child becomes the wise elder. So, now I'm going to attempt to answer these questions. Let's attempt to answer these questions. I know I've given you some of the answers, but just to wrap it up, I say attempt because they're very difficult to answer. For you to really grasp the answers will take a fundamental paradigm shift and revelation to comprehend the answers. Not all of us are mature enough to comprehend the answers. It takes a bit of growth for you to get there. You know, the Jews have an incredible thing. When Jewish people, when studying the Torah, all right, they say that you cannot really, there's certain books you're not allowed to read until you reach the age of 40, because they believe that you are not mature enough to handle what's coming from those books. There's some truth in that. Sometimes we're not mature enough to handle this information. It is the journey of life that teaches us these answers. First question, who am I? Well, like I said in the beginning, human beings are invaluable in what they do and in who they are. We have no idea how special and how powerful we really are. Humanity today is confined, okay? What we are today is simply a shadow of what we were a long time ago or what we are going to be in the future. And our full potential has not yet been reached. Wow. When that caterpillar becomes a butterfly, wow, then you must see. Then you must see how powerful we are. Our abilities lay latent in our DNA. All the powers that you have is wrapped up inside you, locked up in your DNA. And one day it's going to be unleashed. What is man? The Bible says that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man that thou visiteth him. You have made him a little lower than the angels, and have crowned him with glory and honor. Thou madest him to have dominion over the works of his hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet. That is quite a statement for who man is. Whoever made us must have made us with a specific purpose. to make something as incredible, as complicated, as intricate as a human being must have taken a great deal of thought, a great deal of energy and emotion, especially the emotion of love. I think love was involved in creating us. Whoever made us invested in us a great deal of love. Maybe that's too theistic, I don't know. You can question it at tea time. The way you answer this question, where do I come from, will affect the way you live. How important and valuable you see yourself, your purpose in life, will all be affected by how you answer these questions. And like I pointed out at the beginning, if there's one person that might have the answer, it's the wonderful man, I think it's the late Zechariah Sitchin, who wrote these books concerning the origin of man. And all he did was look at the Sumerian texts. And they tell a story of what happened to man and how man came about. And he talks about the Anunnaki, those who from the heavens came, who practiced genetic manipulation, genetic engineering on us, producing a hybrid species between extraterrestrial and human, or what he calls the Ndodo, the hominid, bringing the hominid and the Anunnaki seeds together to form a new being. In these books, Stairway to Heaven, The End of Days, The Cosmic Code, When Time Began, The Lost Realms, and so on. I've read every single one of these books only because I had time, because I was lying in hospital for 6 weeks. And besides reading Conversations with God, I also read these books. Zechariah Sitchin answers these questions in details in his book. This question explores the aspect of one's purpose and destiny. So what is it that truly satisfies you? What must I do? Just to give you a good answer as to what your life's purpose is. How do you know what to do? This is a simple answer. What is it that excites you? What is it that gives you pleasure? What is it that really makes you passionate? Well, that thing is your purpose. Okay? Whatever excites you, truly excites you, and you want to do it, that's your purpose in life. And it's atomic energy. You'll never run out of energy, all right? You'll never get tired of doing that. You'll have an abundant source of energy to do that thing because it's what you want to do. It's what the universe wants you to do. That's why the universe puts so much excitement in you, in your DNA, to make you do it, because it wants you to do that. So whatever satisfies you, whatever excites you, is what your purpose in life is, your deepest passion. If you want to be a dancer, and that's what excites you, then become a dancer, all right? Like, who's that guy in Dirty Dancing?
Patrick Swayze.
So if you want to dance, then dance. If you want to build houses, then build houses. Whatever it is that excites you, that's in your DNA. That's what you ought to do. If you can honestly answer that question, then you have found your purpose in life. Wherever we are going, it is going to be wonderful. Where am I going? I think we're going to a wonderful, wonderful place when we die. We are eternal beings of energy. Never forget that. Just that statement alone, if you can truly grasp that you are immortal, that you simply exist in a biological suit at this time, but who you really are is an immortal being of pure energy. That's who you are. There is no end to us. The biological suit machine we now inhabit will one day be discarded. What lies beyond death is unknown, but believe you me, it's exciting. It's like going on a Star Trek journey. We do, however, have glimpses and we have tastes of what is to come. Especially when you're in nature, you will see those glimpses. Hey? We are going to a place from whence we came, a place of unconditional love. Where we are going is the same place we came from. We came from a place of unconditional love, joy, and peace and ecstasy, and we are going to return to that place one day. It will be a serendipitous surprise. Don't be afraid of death. Death is serendipity. It's exciting. It's the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. That's what it is. The existence down here is only the beginning of the great adventure of life. There are many more worlds to be discovered and enjoyed. Let me play you Star Trek. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.